Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
Guys, let's face it, Yellow Pages are dead. The old days of calling your company AAA Home Inspection and expecting to get calls from that by being number one on the Yellow Pages don't work anymore. Today, you got to be number one on the search engines. That's Google, Yahoo, Bing, or a couple of others. Billy Barner from St. Louis knows how to do this. He has been number one for quite some time, and it brings him thousands of dollars each month. I've talked to Billy, and he's decided to make this available for you. SEO Secrets. And he normally charges $49 for this instructional video, but for our listeners, we've worked out a deal where it's $39.95. For $39.95, you can bring thousands of dollars to your company each month as well. Go to the homepage, thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com, and look on the tab SEO Secrets. Click on that and go to Billy's link.
A special treat for you today. I am here with Michael Wicklund from Seattle, Washington, the people that we just can't seem to beat in the NFC. I'm from Charlotte, and you guys are the big boy on the block in the NFC right now. But hopefully this year will give us a different result. But he owns Sterling Home Inspection Group Inc. I think I said that right. How you doing? This afternoon, Michael? How you doing?
Good. Yeah, we actually are Sterling Home Inspection Services, but we just July 1st we're changing our name after 16 years. To the Sterling Inspection Group, Inc., because now we're a group instead of just me.
Yeah, I've known Michael a while, and we've actually friends on and off the air, so to speak. And I know that you've doubled in size in the past year. Is that correct?
That's correct, yep. So we have.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, we'll get into that. But first, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself. We'd like to get to know you personally.
Well, let's see. I was born south of Chicago in a little town called Harvey. Lived there till I was 7, moved to Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Las Vegas all the way, moved out west. And my oldest brother got a job from Digital Equipment Corporation, and, of course, that was my mom's firstborn, my oldest brother. And, you know, you sometimes parents follow their kids, even if they shouldn't. And so my brother moved to California, but there wasn't much carpentry action going on in about 1968 in California. So we moved to Vegas. My sister was there, and stayed there till about 1984. Met my wife there because she was visiting, and my mom and her grandmother lived a block apart. Unbeknownst to us, we never knew that growing up as kids.
Wow.
And, small world. She was from Washington. I was from basically Vegas from about 68 to 84, and we met, got married, and she decided to be homesick, and so we moved back to her home, which is Washington, and now, 4 kids, 7 grandkids, and that's a little bit about me as far as,
Cool. And you got a beautiful. You got a beautiful family. I see you on Facebook and stuff, and in fact, Michael is actually one of my inspirations to do a lot of this stuff. He's a go-getter. I've talked to him a couple times. Like, I got this idea to do this. He's like, "Well, do it." So, gave me the kick in the butt that I needed. Well, Michael, not too many of us grew up wanting to be a home inspector. What led you into home inspection? How exactly did you get in the business?
Well, I was a carpenter, 3rd generation. My dad and grandfather were both carpenters, and so I was a kitchen and bathroom remodeler / trim carpenter for about 22 years.
Okay.
And in Vegas, I did construction. But then when we moved to Washington, I didn't really know anybody. I didn't have clientele to do bathroom or kitchen remodels. And one day a realtor asked me, "Hey, I heard that you could lay vinyl." Well, I went to Armstrong School for vinyl and got my floor layer certificate. And then I also went to Wilson Art School for laminate, so I got my fabricator certificate for plastic laminate. And he said, "Hey, I got a floor I need done." It was a rotten floor on a pest report, a pest inspection. And it was also noted on the home inspection. Well, I didn't know anything about home inspections or pest inspections, but I knew how to lay floors, and so I did this floor for him. And he said it came up on a real estate work order between the buyer and the seller. I didn't know anything about that at all. And this was a long time ago. And I did the floor. I did a good job. He liked it, and he started using me all the time to do these real estate work orders. But he said, "You got to do more than floors. You got to fix gutters and repair siding and do all these things." So I did that for 16, 17 years, doing real estate work orders that were generated from these things called home inspections or pest inspections.
Right.
So I learned more about them, and then I decided, hey, I always looked at home inspectors. This is going to sound really bad, but I always looked at home inspectors as not too smart of guys, because the ones that I ran into, when I was on the job sites, occasionally I'd meet them because they'd come back for a re-inspect, and they wanted me to be there during the re-inspect, and they were always asking me questions, drilling me for questions. I'm like, you guys are supposed to be the home inspectors. Aren't you supposed to know this stuff? So then one day my wife said, because I had my second knee surgery, and when you can't play football, you become a coach, and when you can't play model, you become a home inspector. So I always knew that when I was looking at these drawings from this pest inspection, if I ever had to do this, I think I'd draw a better drawing, or I'd write a better report. So my wife said, "Well, here's your chance, honey." So
she gave you the kicking butt you needed.
Well, I became a home inspector, and that's kind of how it started.
Okay, so in Washington now, are you guys? Is Washington a licensing state, or did you get like certification?
We weren't for the first 11 years that I was an inspector, but in 2009 we became a licensed state. So I didn't have to go do the schooling. I just had to challenge and take the test and pass the test. But there was a time cutoff where after this certain time, you had to go take the class. And there were a few old dogs that waited till the very end, took the test, and lo and behold, they didn't pass the test, and it was too late to reschedule, so they had to go to the school.
Oh, my goodness.
I wasn't one of those that didn't pass, so I passed.
I hear you. What's if you were starting out new in Washington, what's the school, how many, is it a certain number of hours or time or a certain number of inspections?
120 hours of classroom training, and then 40 hours of ride-alongs. And I do teach at the school. Ashley started there's two others, but we won't go there. So Ashley started a school in Seattle about a year and a half ago, and I kind of complained. I had one of my inspectors that I hired, and he wasn't licensed yet, and so we had to send him to school. And so I looked around at the schools in Washington, found the two that were here, didn't really like what I was hearing, so I called Ashley. They said that the closest one was Denver. Actually, it's Littleton, Colorado, and so I sent him there, but I complained on the phone a little bit to Jack, the national director. I said, "Hey, how come we don't have a school in Seattle?" Well, we're working on that. And so about, a couple months later, they called and asked me if they were going to start a school in Seattle and want to know if I would be the lead instructor. So I started out being the lead instructor for about the first year, and just because my business was growing so much, and we were moving our home and our office all at the same time, and I stepped down as the lead. I'm still an instructor, but Rod, one of the guys that I had brought on to help me during the early years, or the early beginning of the Ashley School, now the lead instructor. I'm just an instructor, but I'm always trying to fit in marketing stuff into the class, and the all the other instructors it's just single man shops. Nothing wrong with a single man shop. I was a single man shop for 13 years.
Oh, me too. Me too.
But I wouldn't go back there. I love what I do. I love being a multi-inspector.
I probably wouldn't go back, but there's days I really, because sometimes you don't have control of it's not sometimes. You never have total control of what other people do. And, you get a complaint, you're like, he said what? What did he say? Or like,
I've had that. Like, why did you do that? I didn't train you that way.
Yeah. Well, you took an interesting path, which I think was actually pretty strong. in hindsight, where you were doing the repairs on all of these things, and if you do enough, you know, because it seems like most of us come from one particular trade or another, like plumbing, or mine was kind of a pest control route, or, you know, termite route. So wood destroying insect was my strong point, you know, where, you know, plumbing guy is plumbing or electrician. But that was kind of good the way you came in, because you sort of got an all-around background, you know, pretty good. I like that. That's good. We have 100.
That's probably the biggest thing that the agents compliment me on is, you know, if I find something wrong, I don't have to fix it, but I do know how to fix it, and a lot of times I'll share some of that stuff. I don't really try to tell them how to do electrical. I'll say, you know, I can teach you, I can tell you how to do the plumbing, because if you do it wrong, nobody drowns. But if I tell you how to do the electrical and somebody gets shocked or, you know, electrocuted, or the house burns down, I don't want to be in that boat. So I really refer them to professionals when it comes to electrical. But other stuff, I share lots of tips and tricks and how to do this. And I said, you know, if you feel comfortable, take my advice, do it. But if you don't feel comfortable, hire a professional. And I've shared that with my guys. And that's one thing that we kind of do in our company is we train more than just what the ASHI school trains them. We put them through our own training before they go out in the field, which I feel like I have some of the best trained guys in the Puget Sound area. So
cool. Well, tell me, so how long have you been doing inspections total, Michael? And tell me about some changes you've seen.
Sure. Well, 16 years, and I started back when I went to ITA school. Kevin O'Malley, a great guy, back when they only had 2 schools, one in Florida and one in Oceanside, California, and they grew, you know. So I went to his school, and I did them all on the Matrix Deluxe, NCR, carbonless paper, and separate them. I even had the agents trained when I started going through the review at the end, and I always did a review with the client at the end. I really encouraged that. I had the agents trained to the point where we'd have to tear that perforated paper, and the agents will say, well, now that you're done with that page, you know, grounds, exterior, foundation, roof, heating, plumbing, electrical, of course I got that memorized. The agent would grab the papers, and she said, I'll separate them. One stack for the buyer, one stack for me. And she would sit there and separate them all so that at the end I didn't, because agents, they just want to get out of there. They don't want to be there in the first place, but they want to speed it up.
We use those.
Go ahead. Yeah, so I did the carbonless paper, and we did Polaroids, you know, that got out the end. And if they wanted just a picture or two, but if they wanted a lot of pictures, we actually took them with a regular camera, and we took our film to the photo hut and 24-hour delivery, and then we paste them in a book and send it, you know, deliver them. And well, those were the old days. I'm sure.
Yeah, we did the Polaroid, and I tried to budget 10 pictures per report, because, you know, those things would come in a pack of 10, and they basically cost $10, so it was $1 per picture pretty much. And so we would write, I used the forms, you know, and I would say, see picture 3. So, you know, have that little white space at the bottom of the Polaroid. Picture 3. You know,
I had a couple of those Sony Mavicas.
Yeah. I still got mine. My wife, it's funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we moved, and you know, we were throwing away a bunch of old stuff, and I've got like 5 of those things. And she was
send one of those to the Smithsonian.
Well, that's right beside the T-Rex. But I said, you know, if they ever have a home inspection museum, here we go, right here.
There you go.
Some of those old forms too. Well, Michael, we talked early on how you've doubled in size. I think if I'm correct, you're up to 6 inspectors now. So tell me, here's what most people struggle with. How was it hard to hire that first one? Take us back there. What was that like?
Well, before the downhill slide of the real estate market, early on I tried hiring, and maybe I was just too green and too young and too unknowledgeable about, you know, what I was doing. But I about 3 times I tried hiring a guy.
Nobody can do it as good as you. That's the problem.
So I'd hire a guy and I'd have him for a month, and he just, you know, it just didn't work out. Maybe my process in picking was poor, you know. I don't know. They just didn't work out. They didn't do it like me. Or they weren't willing to, you know, learn or grow or anyway. So then I kind of laid low for a while because the market, you know, tanked, and and I thought, well, maybe I'm just destined to be a one-man shop. And then after we came out of that real estate disaster. I got the itch to grow again, and I met a guy at an ASHI chapter meeting, but he wasn't really there for the chapter meeting. They were having a class on a certain software. It wasn't the software I used, but he was in an adjacent room, and we both came out at about the same time because they both ended at about the same time. I think the software class was just piggybacking onto the ASHI chapter meeting.
Sure.
And I'm always real friendly. Hi, how are you? What's your name? What are you doing here? And he's taking a class, and I said, how long have you been inspecting? And he said, about a year. And I said, well, how's that going? He said, well, okay. And I knew that hesitation wasn't really okay. And I said, well, how many are you doing a week? And he said, well, again, there's a little hesitation. The next thing out of his mouth was going to be padded, not the real truth, the whole truth, but the truth. So he said, about 3 or 4, which means 1 or 2. and I said, well, what if I can guarantee you 5 a week? I knew I could give him more, but I always like to
under promise,
over deliver. And so I promised him 5, and that was the beginning. And I think I don't think I've ever given him less than 8 a week, and usually more, usually 10 a week. And I try not to give him more than 10 a week, just because it burns him out. More than 2 a day, 5 days a week. So we started with him, and he's a retired firefighter, 31 years as a firefighter in Scottsdale, Arizona, rural metro. And that was my beginning, and he's still with me, and he's great. My second guy, that's Brian Brett. His family owned a boat building business, so he came across with a great statement. He said, when I was interviewing him, he says, well, we have attention to detail, because if you don't build the boat right, you know what happens. It sinks.
Yeah.
And he's just a great guy, most humble guy, from about the upper lip up, above his upper lip. From there up, he looks like Matt Damon. I mean, the eyes.
Oh, wow.
And the female realtors there. Can you send that inspector that looks like Matt Damon?
Wow. Well, cool. I've hired some guys, and I love ex-military and active military, but I'm getting one of my guys is Air National Guard, and we just found out today he's getting deployed all next week. I don't know if there's some security. I won't say where, because I don't know if it's some security thing, but I'm like, I hope it's just for a week. So we're like struggling, trying to cover his inspections and stuff. But, he's a great guy, and, I would hire him again and twice on Sunday. But, gosh, he don't give you much notice. He found out today he's getting deployed tomorrow. I was like, wow.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's crazy. But hopefully he thinks it's just going to be a week, so I don't know. But I guess, whenever there's an emergency situation in the country, or outside.
Shortly after I hired my first guy, Brian, I look back now on it, and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? About 2 months after I hired my first guy, Brian, I'm a certified FEMA inspector, so I got deployed. I went out to Hurricane Sandy, and I was there for a little while. And he was back here at home doing the inspections, and that's where I kind of really realized, wow, you think that it can't run without you. Well,
it can. It can. Well, Gordon Fox always says, he got to a point where he thinks his business runs better when he's not there than when he is there. Because,
that's great.
When I come in, my ADD picks up, we need to be doing this. And I think they wait till I leave, and then they actually get stuff done. All right. Well, Michael, tell us, do you have a training process with your inspectors? I know they all come in with different levels of experience, but how do you get them up to speed?
Well, we kind of assess where they're at, and then we have a 90-day training program.
Right.
The first 30 days, we call it drill down, and that's 5 days a week, 8 to 6, 8 in the morning, 6 at night. In the first 30 days, it's all about learning the Sterling home inspection, drill the process, and they really just assist the inspector. They're not inspecting; they're just assisting, and they're kind of learning that routine. I'm all about systems, and I'm all about routines, like very regimented routines. The same way, same direction, same thing every time, same photos. We've got it down to where we have a book, and you can open it up, and in the bathroom, it'll show you the different photos that you have to take if you're going to inspect for us. Now, you can take more than that, but you have to take at least these let's say 8
Right.
Of the roof, it's X number. Of the chimney, it's X number of photos. And from the same direction, same angle, because we want them all. I want to be able to, if my guy, heaven forbid, if one of them got hit by a bus and I could take his camera card, I could take it and plug it into my computer, and I could explain exactly what that inspection is for the most part. And we've done that where we've had our guys explain the inspection off a camera card that they didn't take the pictures on, and almost to the T, they know exactly what they are because we take the pictures the same way. Now, there's going to be some anomalies that are specific to that house, but generally, you and I both know, we see the same crap all the time. We just see the same thing over and over again. So that's the first 30 days. They just have to learn the routine with us. And then, let's see, the days 31 to 60, same thing, 5 days a week, 8 to 6. And this is what we call the blue tape phase, where they go ahead of, instead of being with the inspector and assisting him, they go ahead of the inspector, and they put in little blue tape where they see the deficiencies. Mm-hmm. And then when we go into the room, we say, okay, those are the things we see. Oh, but did you miss this and this? And pretty soon they quit missing those things, so we phase them out of that, and we call that the blue tape phase. And they just work just a little bit ahead of the inspector. And we always kind of play that as a positive with our realtors. You say, hey, we're training a new guy, but you know what? You're going to get 2 sets of eyes. He's going to pre-inspect. Our guy's going to go back over it, and if there's anything that the new guy didn't see, we're going to see. It goes a little quicker. I haven't had any agents balk at that. They go, wow, that's great. 2 sets of eyes. We're going to go over everything twice.
Yeah,
we do get there considerably early, a little bit earlier, so we're not encroaching on the agent's time and the buyer's time. To compensate for the time it takes us to train. And then the last 30 days is, we call it boot camp, and that's where they're the inspector, and the licensed inspector who's training them is now the assistant, because of a role reversal. And that's where they do the kitchen or driveway speech, and they do what we call the photo review. At the end of every inspection, we always have a photo review, and I'm sure a lot of other inspectors do that, but I have a lot of realtors say, well, gosh, Michael, nobody sits down and goes over each and every photo at the end of the inspection like you guys do. And we do. We sit down. All of our guys have 17-inch laptops because they're nice and big, so everybody can crowd around and see it. I remember the days when we had just the digital camera, didn't have laptops. We're all huddling around the back of my camera, so that was crazy.
Sure. No, I like that, man. There's a lot of things I wrote down. I took some notes on there. I like the keeping the consistent camera angles, and I like the way you frame it to the realtors. The 2 sets of eyes instead of one, and it makes them feel like it's an advantage. And it is, really, it is. It's just, you got
to play to your strengths.
Absolutely.
And that last 30 days, which is getting close to the 90, that's when we do the parallel inspections right at the very end of the last 2 weeks, where the licensed trained inspector will do an inspection, and the trainee will also do an inspection independently of each other. One guy will be on the outside, one guy will be on the inside, and then they'll switch. The inside goes out, so that way they're not seeing which photos the other guys taken, and my guys the guys that are training the new guys, it's like a contest, like.
Sure.
Can I find something that he's not going to find? And we really try to grill him, try to make him real.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to make a mistake, make it now, not when the live bullets are. Because now it's correctable, but when you're out on your own, it's going to cost a lot of money.
Oh yeah, that's what I tell them at the ASHI school when I teach. I say, guys, you're not asking any questions. I said, you got to ask questions. You can think they're dumb questions. The only dumb question is the question you didn't ask that you paid thousands of dollars to be here for. So ask those questions. Ask them to me. If they sound dumb, that's okay. I want you to make all your mistakes here, not out in the field with a paying client.
Absolutely. Well, switching gears here just a little bit, Michael, do you have a success quote you'd like to share with us?
Oh, gosh. One success quote. I have dozens of success quotes.
Well, if you can pick one.
I don't know if I can give you just one, but I'll give you a couple. Well, I'm a Vince Lombardi fan, so practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Cool.
and I'm on the top of the mountain. Didn't fall there.
Wait a minute, I got to back up on that just a second. You said you're from Chicago, and you're a Vince Lombardi fan.
Well,
don't they pretty much hate the Packers in Chicago?
I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a Bears fan, but of course I'm a Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
Probably my all-time one of my all-time favorites is from Art Williams, the old football coach out of Georgia.
Yep.
If you remember Art Williams,
I do.
All you can do is all you can do.
Yeah.
And if you ever want a really good motivational talk, just go and listen to his Do It talk. Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, I was in a presentation. I mean, I was watching somebody's presentation. They played it off YouTube or something. And I remember it was really good. He's kind of a folksy guy, and I'm going to go back and look at that. It's been a while.
Well, he's a self-made billionaire. I actually worked for A.L. Williams years ago. I had my Series 7 securities license and sold mutual funds and life insurance, and that's probably where I got most of my sales experience. But A.L. Williams beat the top two put together, New York Life and Prudential. We sold more life insurance than the top two combined. Yeah. So.
Wow.
No one had ever done that. Nobody ever beat Prudential or New York Life ever. So. Yeah.
Well, Michael, tell us. I'm going to double up these questions.
Okay.
Tell us something that most people don't know about you, and what do you like to do in your spare time?
Spare time? What's that? Oh.
Yeah, I know you're always busy. If you had spare time, what would you do?
If I had spare time. Well, what don't they know about me? Well, I can ride a unicycle. I can ride
really?
a unicycle, and I can juggle.
Nice. Can you do those at the same time?
I actually can. Yeah, I can juggle, and I actually had somebody on my shoulders. I was on a standard size unicycle and juggling at the same time. That's when I was young. I don't know if I could do that with somebody on my shoulders right now, but when you're a kid, you're kind of dumb, and I thought it was cool. I was on the wrestling team, and I wanted to exercise my legs, and so I would ride my unicycle to school, because when you're riding a unicycle, you can't freewheel. It's this direct drive, so your legs are going around all the time, and
right.
I would ride to school on my unicycle, park it in the bike rack, and lock it up.
Wow.
The girls would probably think I'm cool. Now they probably thought I was stupid. There's that dumb guy on his unicycle.
Man, I tell you what, Michael, if you could still ride that unicycle, you ought to do that in presentations for realtors' offices. And you ought to, if you could juggle and do it, you could come up with something like, real estate is a balancing act. And,
right.
It's inspections, it's mortgages while you're juggling. But if one of the balls gets out of line, this is what happens.
Down she goes. That's a great idea. Yeah.
We can help you keep everything balanced by using Sterling Home and Services Group or something.
That's right.
So that's cool.
So that's something that probably people don't know about me. What do I like to do in my spare time? I really like to do woodworking. I mean, I build furniture, and that's probably a passion I got from my dad. My dad was from Sweden, and he was a carpenter, but he was also a woodworker. So that's
cool.
My passion.
Cool. I want to get into that. We've got a bigger house now, and I've got all my tools. I've got a place where I've got to acquire a couple more saws, and I want to get a couple of some more equipment. And I want to do the same thing. Well, Michael, you know as well as I do that if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process? What's that look like?
We do. We never like to make snap decisions. So when they call, I usually, if I'm not right in the office, usually the office handles it, and they end up pushing the call onto me, and I set a time to call them back. And that way I can have all the information, the inspection, the contracts, everything up in front of me. So I'm, not talking without the necessary preparation.
Sure.
But I learned from your podcast. Donnie, I think Donnie said it best. You just keep asking them questions till they're tired of hearing you ask questions. But I guess I would say, hey, I want to be able to put myself in your shoes and feel what you're feeling. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to ask you a bunch of questions as to how it started and when you first saw it and all that. And I just keep asking those questions so that they know why I'm going down that path. I want to put myself in their shoes. Why are they feeling the way they're feeling? And I guess I didn't feel this way when I was a single man shop because honestly, I made less money when I was a single man shop. It's a numbers game.
Right.
And every inspection I got was like valuable to me. And so when I made that money, I didn't really want to give it back ever.
Right.
But now I just look at it like, you know, do I need that $450 more than they need it? You know, first time home buyer, and you know they're struggling, and I'm like, I don't really need that $450. I really don't. So if I can give it back to them, let's just do it. Or you know, individual. You know, each case is individual, but I'm not just going to lay down and let them stomp all over me. So I ask a lot of questions. And you know, I had one probably about 6 months ago, and the guy sent me a letter, and it was all, you know, very formal and blah blah blah. And he sent me a photocopy of one of the pages in my report, which that was the noose around his neck, because he said the roof leaked, and the roof looked fine, but in that page it also said there was a leak from the ceiling below, and I said, you know, we can't really see where this is coming from. Maybe from plumbing stack, and it may be from the roof. Recommend further evaluation. So I called him up. And I said, dude, what happened when you had that further evaluation of the leak that we couldn't track down where it was coming from? He said, oh, yeah. He said, you know what? And these were his words. He says, I kept looking for somebody to blame other than myself. And he says, you're right. I didn't do what you said. He says,
wow.
I won't call you anymore. You know, so I would say that when someone calls you, review what you're going to talk to them about before you call them back.
Right.
Most of the time, you know, if you're a one-man shop, you answer the phone, and you don't have time to go looking everything up unless you schedule an appointment to call them back. And that would be my best advice. Don't talk about it right then until you have all your ducks in a row. The inspection in front of you, the documents in front of you, contract in front of you. That would be better. That way, you know, the photos of the house. Even if you are a one-man shop and you take the call, I'd say, you know what? I'm driving down the road, one hand on the wheel, one hand on the phone. I'm talking to you. This is not really a conducive time for me to answer your questions. I want to answer your questions. I'd love to answer your questions, but I need to be in front of a desk where I can have the report in front of me, the photos, so I can better answer your questions and help you resolve this situation. That's what I would tell them.
Sure. No, you know, I like everything you said. I can't believe that guy admitted to that. I mean, you know, a lot of times I think they know it, but they would never say it. I have to give him props for doing that.
Yeah.
Wow. Usually they just blame it on you, and even if they know deep down that they're wrong, they're going to keep battling until you give them something. You know, we live in this age
you know, I had a great one where a realtor just all of a sudden she stopped using me, and after so many months, I'm like, what's going on? 6 months. I said, Carol, you know, you've used me for like 9 or 10 years, and she said, well, Michael, and she's an old, crusty lady. You have to know her. Most people either, you know, like her or hate her. You know, she's just kind of crabby all the time. And I kind of learned to really like her. And she said, well, you missed something. So, well, Carol, what did I miss? Well, it was a plumbing leak. I said, well, why didn't you call me? Well, I don't know. I just, you know. And so I said, let me go over there. So I went over there, and it was plumbing underneath a bay window that it was up on a hillside. I couldn't get there, couldn't see it, or, you know. And I asked the lady, I said, what would you want me to do? She said, well, I have this $227 plumbing bill. I said, let me see it. And so I looked at it, and I go, let me go see why I didn't see this. So I went underneath, and sure enough, there was the plumbing, and I didn't. I said, hey, I quit walking on water a long time ago. You know, we don't make any mistakes on purpose. I get that pause in there. We don't make any mistakes on purpose. And I said, well, you know what? How about if I just pay for this plumbing bill? She said, would you do that? I said, absolutely. I said, well, you got to do me one favor.
Call their agent.
Could you write a letter to that agent or an email and let her know that we helped you, we took care of you, and that you're satisfied with our you know, that what we did was right? She said, absolutely.
Wow.
You got to get something out of it, and she did. She started using me again.
Yeah, $220. That's cheap to get all that business again. And
yeah,
man, I mean, you're lucky it was just the plumbing. You know, it wasn't like damage too or something. So yeah, well, that was smart to do that. Well, Michael, we're going to get into some highs and lows here in just a minute. But first, let's pause for sponsors.
Are you struggling to make your home inspection business grow? Well, have I got the answer for you. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. At homeinspectionflyers.com, you get 5 flyers a month. There are 3 sales flyers and 2 recipe flyers. And you can customize them to exactly what you want. And these make great flyers when you go to the offices to put in their boxes, especially if you're doing like candy bowls or something along that nature. Like I said, it's 5 flyers a month for $29.99, and they're very creative, and you just put in your information. They come as a publisher file, and you just put in your information, and then you send them off to get printed. You can send them off online, and you can get color copies for less than 10 cents a copy. It's a great way to go. I went from being a one-man home inspection firm to a 7-man home inspection firm on this one strategy alone. So try it today. homeinspectionflyers.com. Thanks.
All right. Well, we are back here with Michael Wicklund of Sterling Home Inspection Group out of Seattle, Washington. Michael, tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there and what you learned from it.
Wow. Well, during the downturn of the real estate market, I was trying everything to stay busy, and I just, as much as I prayed over that phone, it just wasn't ringing. I was probably like everybody, I don't know. I bought this machine. It was a gutter cleaning machine. It was like a big giant vacuum, a gutter sucker.
Right.
And it just didn't do what they promised, and it cost me a lot of money, and I don't know, just trying anything to stay afloat and stay, because a lot of inspectors, well, realtors too in our area. We had 27,000 realtors in the MLS, and we lost half of them right around 2007. Half of them are gone, and we lost about half of the inspectors. So everybody was just trying to stay afloat. So I think buying that machine, sight unseen, just hey, I'll clean gutters. We have a lot of leaves here and a lot of rain, and nobody cleans their gutters. And we see it all the time on home inspection. So I'll be the gutter cleaner, and it pan out. So just trying. My wife calls it harebrained ideas.
I hear you. I've had a few of those myself.
Well, I tried several of those during that time. We actually ended up buying an aerator, and we aerated lawns, and we were knocking on doors on Saturdays, and gosh, we were doing $1,000 a day aerating lawns. Who would have ever thunk it?
Yeah, I've aerated. I've done that. That's it's good money. It needs to be done, but boy, that is hard work, man. Those aerators are. They're a beast to hold on to that thing.
And I got that idea from the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts would always come around every year, one day on a Saturday, to make money for scout camp, and well, there's something that you said. Tell me something nobody knew about me. In 1990,
there you go.
I was Scoutmaster of the Year. So
sweet. Yeah, we just bought this new house. I still own my aerator, but man, if somebody comes knocking on my door and said they will do it for how much, as long as it's reasonable, I will pay it. I don't want to get out there and do it. It's too much work.
It's like wrestling an alligator.
Yeah, well, my back will hurt for 4 days afterwards, so I'd much rather pay somebody. Well, Michael, on the other end of the spectrum, tell us about a moment. Have you ever had one of those moments where you felt like you've come a long way?
Yeah, I've had a couple of those. Like the one was when I went to Hurricane Sandy, and I was gone, and the business kept running. I had never in my life had ever had that, because I'd always been a one-man shop for 13 years.
Sure.
And it was going, and I called back to home, and yeah, everything's going okay. We're doing inspections, and the money's still coming in. Maybe not as much as both of us, but at least something instead of nothing.
Sure.
And I was like, aha, it can work. I can be here and doing this, helping people out, and
the business can go
running.
I hear you.
The second time that happened is when all my guys are out inspecting, and when the revenue just gets higher and higher. When you start doing 35, 40 inspections a week, that was like, wow, I never dreamed. I would do 35 inspections in a month by myself, but to do those in a week, that was just phenomenal to me.
It's better than gutter cleaning.
Probably small potatoes to you, but
please. Well, Michael, do you have a favorite book you could recommend to our listeners?
Well, I don't know about a book, but I'll give you a periodical that I really like.
Okay.
I like reading the Harvard Business Review.
Okay.
And it comes out it's usually a dual month, like January, February, March, April, and usually lots of good articles by professors at Harvard that teach business, and that's what I'm trying to do better. Most home inspectors are ex-contractors or ex-something, and in some cases, most of them haven't run a business, and I think the better we get at being a good business person, and not so much just a home inspector, we're going to have a lot more success. When people ask me, what do you do for a living, 99.9% of the people probably say I'm a home inspector. I don't say that anymore. I say I own a home inspection business.
Yeah.
Now I know it's just words, but it's a mental thing. You got to picture yourself as a home inspector, an owner of a home inspection business, not a home inspector.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, Michael, we talked a little bit about how home inspections have changed, and you were talking about the Polaroids and all that. If you had a crystal ball, what would you predict might change in the future of home inspections?
Oh, for the home inspector not to have to write these dang reports. I love inspecting, but I hate writing those reports.
Yeah, me too.
I know I have a lot of company out there. I don't know. We implement a lot of video in our report, so I think maybe going more video in the report.
Right.
I guess that's what I would say to answer that.
Cool. Well, Michael, I know the answer before I ask it. Have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? I'm sure probably last week.
Yeah, kind of funny. I got a call from a client. He says, "Hey, I got a leak and you missed it." And it was a flat roof, parapet wall, and I went over there, and sure enough, there was stains in a leak. New stains in a leak, and he's having the house painted by this contractor. He's a painter, wallpaper, and he was trying to tell the guy that that's been there, and your inspector should have saw that.
Your inspector
I want to
should
say,
have.
guys, I'm in the room here. You're talking about me. I'm in the room here, and I'm like, now, what kind of contractor are you? Painter and wallpaper? What does it have to do with building science, moisture intrusion? I said, this wasn't here. I said, I've got a photo of each room because of the way we take our pictures. I said, I got a photo of the room. It wasn't there. The reason it was there is we almost never have snow. We had snow, and then it had flash freeze where it froze the cap on top of the snow, and it kind of insulated everything. No attic. Heat went up, melted the snow underneath. The 2-inch round scupper froze solid. Water didn't have anywhere to go. Went up and over the edge of the torch down and leaked into the house.
Yeah,
but I kind of became a hero though, because I analyzed why it was there, and then he went to his insurance company instead of me. So that that guy wanted to throw me under the bus. And in Washington, you don't have to do anything to become a contractor. There's no apprenticeship like an electrician. You just pay your blood money and get your contractor's license, and you're a contractor.
Yeah, when you get that phone call that says, my contractor said, my home inspector should have seen, my blood, my pulse, everything just starts to squeeze in. But anyway. Well, Michael, remember this is a G-rated show, and when you answer this question, what is the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you've ever found on a home inspection?
I was doing some inspections with a colleague who hired me to help him because he had 8 duplexes. Mm-hmm. And we were doing we did all the interiors, and then we were going to do all the crawl spaces all at once to get suited up one time. And he came and said, "Hey, Michael, you have more experience. I need to show you something." And so he said, "We're crawling in the crawl space," and he said, "It's over in this corner." I said, "You have more construction experience. I don't know what this is. I need you to help me." And I kind of noticed that when we were crawling in the beginning, we were kind of side by side, but then he kind of started lagging back, and I was crawling, and he was getting further back and further back away from me. And I got to the corner, I saw these 2 little beady eyes, and then I saw the mouth open and the fangs there, and it was a possum. So and he's just laughing and rolling on. He's on the ground crawling, but he's just rolling around laughing. I said, "Yeah, we're going to pay you back. Don't worry, we'll get you back." So I went back to my duplex, and he went to the next duplex, and I saw him get in the crawl. So then what I did is I went to the next crawl space that he was supposed to get into. I got into it, put the hatch down, went around the corner, waited for him. And the minute he opened that hatch and put his leg in, I grabbed his ankle. I thought he was going to have to go change his pants.
Oh, that's awesome. That's better.
So that's my weird thing to find a live possum, but then the topper was get my buddy back.
I just don't do that to anybody who's got a heart condition.
Yeah.
That's better than what I used to carry, like a rubber snake, and the person would be crawling behind me, and I put this, I got one that was real lifelike, looking, and boy, it would freak him out. But that's better. That's better.
Yeah. My older guys that have been with me longer, whenever we have a new guy, they're always coming up with some prank. They want to play on the new guy, a rubber
like rookie,
rat or something.
Rookie, you got to get like
initiation,
training camp and stuff. And rookies get, saran wrap to the goalpost or something. Well, Michael, do you have a training or internet or marketing resource or some app or something, a web page, anything you found that you'd be willing to share that you think has been helpful in your business?
Let's see. Well, a couple things I would say. If they don't use ISN, or some scheduling program, I use the heck out of that. I guess the best tip I would tell them, one tip would be when we go into the house, there's always business cards from the realtor sitting on the kitchen counter. Because in our state, it's the law. Whenever they come in, they have to leave their card. Well, I take my camera and I take a picture of every one of those cards and I upload it to my Dropbox. We use Google Drive now, but anyway, I upload it, and my gal in the office takes that card. She inputs it into our ISN, so our database of agents is always growing. We group those and we put the date on it. We group them. We call them kitchen counter cards, and then the date. And then we mass email that 15 or 18 or 22 or however many cards. We send them a letter, and we've kind of massaged that letter over the years. But we send them a letter and says, "Dear agent," but we actually insert their name, or ISN inserts their name. How it kind of merges those names. It says, "Dear Betty Jones from Century 21, we saw your card on a house we inspected on Thursday. You probably have an inspector that you know and love and have used for years, and that's wonderful. However, if his schedule gets busy, we'd love to just be your backup guy or be on your list of 3. Please let us know how we can help." So it's not saying we need to be your guy, get rid of your guy. It's saying we know you have a guy, you love him, and you use him, and that's great. We just want to be a backup for you. It's a more polite way to approach it. And then if they respond with an email, and we get quite a few that respond, not all of them, but as soon as they respond, to me, that's like a handshake. That's an invitation for me to correspond more. So then what we'll do is we'll pick up the phone and we'll say, "We're so thankful that you responded. We would love to send you what we call a new agent packet. Not that you're new, but you're new to us." And basically in the mail, we send them a packet that has a copy of our inspection license, our business license, our insurance, all the stuff that they should have on every vendor that shows that they did their due diligence. But we send that to them along with a brochure. It has a bio on each of our inspectors, a picture of our team. It has a coupon if they want to give us a try. Give this to one of your buyers. And it's really high gloss, kind of high end printing. We spend quite a bit on those, and we send those out. Of course, they're in the color of folder that our company colors are kind of with Pantone violet, but it's really purple. It's kind of like the Huskies. The Huskies purple. And I'm all about everything looking uniformed. We all know what color McDonald's is, red and yellow. Ours is purple. And
Starbucks.
We try to do everything kind of high end, so it makes us look better than we are. Hopefully, we live up to being as good as we should be. But we send that brochure to them, and they get it. And I kind of think of it like this. If you ever watch boxing, if a boxer has his ribs taped, you know exactly where the other guy is going to punch.
Right.
He's going to hone in on that sore spot. So I try to look around me for the inspectors that are in my area, and I see what they do or what they can't do, and whatever they can't do, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I try to really focus on what I know they can't do, especially the stuff. Nothing against them. I know they aren't going to have 3 or 4 people in their office staff answering questions. Whatever they can't, I know they can't do, I'm going to do. I actually had an inspector call me and said, "Would you quit adding more things to the inspection?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, I heard that you bring snacks and drinks." Yeah, I heard that you bring table and chairs for them to sit on, and I heard that you bring light bulbs, and if there's a bad light bulb, you change the light bulb to verify whether it's the light bulb or if it's the fixture. And we always just say, well, the bulb's out, it might be the fixture, but we don't know. And we change all the light bulbs, and we tell the client, and we say, hey, we're going to test that light fixture to make sure it's not the fixture, and it's, it could be just a bulb, but it could be the fixture, and sometimes it is. But as a courtesy, we're going to leave that bulb, and we just do things like you fix little things. We mentored after what you do. We bring outlet covers. I told my guys, I don't ever want to see another picture of an outlet cover saying outlet cover's missing. Recommend having it corrected as needed. I don't want to see that in a report ever.
Just put one on there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, you hit it on the head. I gave a whole presentation about that very thing that you said. Do what you do. But, it's funny. I was giving a presentation. Wally was in the room. And, I was like, I can't out-Wally Wally. Wally does his thing. He's great. He's, he writes a book. He writes books. The Happy Home Inspector. It's a great book, by the way. He's got 2 of them. He has his radio show. He has this whole persona. I can't out-Wally Wally. But I can out-Preston Wally. I'm not in his market, but I would never try to take him on at his strengths. I'm going to take him on at my strengths. You know what I'm saying? So, and the whole premise of that presentation was there's a book out there called David and Goliath, and I think it's Malcolm Gladwell, and that was the whole thing. That basically that was the premise of the whole thing. You don't beat somebody at their strengths; you beat them at yours. So there's probably somebody in your market that's, the 800-pound gorilla. Well, don't try to beat them the way they became the 800-pound gorilla. You probably have something unique that you can do. And, it's kind of like if you go back to the whole story of David and Goliath, there was 3 types of weaponry back then. There was infantry, there were slingshots, and there was artillery. And it was kind of a rock, paper, scissors thing, like where this would beat this and this would beat that. You know what I'm saying? And when they were at this stalemate, I forget, the Philistines and I guess it was the Israelites or whatever. I forget. I might be mistaken. They both sent out. And they said, and sometimes they would do this in a battle. They say, well, you have your best guy come out, I'll have my best guy come out, and whoever wins that's the winner, and we'll save lives on both sides. So the Philistines sent out Goliath, who was they said in hindsight he probably had some sort of disorder or growth. He's like 9 foot tall, but it turns out his sight wasn't very good, and he was infantry, or with the saber and all this, and nobody on the other side was like, I'm not going out there, and the thing was, so David was actually there. His brother was there. He brought them food or something. He wasn't even like a soldier. He was like a little shepherd boy, and he said he would go, and they're all like, are you crazy, man? And so then, he's going out there, and they're like, well, here, at least put some armor on and all this stuff. And they're like, no, I'm not putting armor on. That would slow me down. He was a sling. He had a sling. And they said that his sling was the equivalent of a .45 caliber pistol. And, if he went up hand-to-hand combat with Goliath would have killed him. He would have grabbed him and squished him. He was a little boy. But he was so accurate with that sling, boom. He could put it in that one place where his armor didn't cover, and like I said, it's like a .45 caliber bullet, boom, he took down. And the reality of this was, everybody always says David and Goliath, but really Goliath didn't have a chance. David actually had the superior weapon, So the point of this, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, is don't try to fight Goliath with armor and thing, because that's what he's good at. Fight him with what you're good at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We always try to punch those ribs that have the tape on them. We're always looking for what our guys. We try to think of ideas.
Right.
What can we do that we know that they can't do, because most of them are one-man shops. Not all of them, but most of them are one-man shops. So what can a one-man shop not do that we can do? And we almost always have 2 inspectors on site, because we have enough inspectors And now my whole philosophy is we're always training. We're always training new guys. We're always going to have two. So we have 3 teams of 2.
Team approach.
And then that's the one thing that's really been I've been pretty jacked up about as far as, instead of taking 3 hours, 3.5 hours, or however long it takes, we take less time. We're an hour and 45 minutes, hour or 2 hours, depending on.
Yeah, and you can.
It's a really crappy house, but here's the thing: the agents are loving it that they're not there as long. Now, if we ever go and we only have one guy, they go, "Where's your other guy?" I go, "Sorry, we just got stretched too thin today. We only have one." They go, you can hear that sigh, like, "Oh, okay." Like they got to be there for the normal amount of time instead of the sterling amount of time, which is less time.
I like it, but you can advertise it. That's a great. That's your sling right there. You take down Goliath. Well, Michael, is there anything you're working on right now that has you jacked up or excited about?
That would be the team approach. Doing it as a team, and that's when we can really do things that other guys can't do. I mean, we go in and turn on all the lights and fans. We check all the light bulbs. We check all the outlets and switch plates. What one shop, he can't do that. There's no way.
Sure.
He's going to be there forever. The agents are going to hate him because he's taking too long. So, we just do the team approach. And, because for so long it's always been Brian's doing one inspection here and Brett's doing one there and I'm doing one here. And that was just the 3 of us. And we're all 3 different places. But now that we have Dennis and John and Kevin. Well, Kevin's my son. I hired my son last year, and that's been kind of a fun thing to watch.
Sure.
Blossom. He went on his first inspection when I first started because take your kid to work day that day. Everybody got out of school, and all the parents could take their son or daughter to work, and so Kevin went on his first inspection when he was 10 years old. Now he's 27 years old. So
right.
Kind of a neat thing.
Awesome. Well, Michael, if you had to move to a brand new city, equal or greater than the size of Seattle, which there probably would be too many on that list, but and you had all of your equipment that you currently have, room and board taken care of. I mean, everything is the same. It's just that you don't know anybody. So you got $5,000 to get out there and market your business. What are you doing in the first week? Basically, what do you get the most ROI on?
That's easy. Not everybody could do this, but I could do this. My wife is a chef.
Right.
She's a professional chef. She graduated #1 in her class from Le Cordon Bleu Culinary School. And so we do lunch and learns and events. Lots and lots of all kinds of events. Everything from Santa Claus, take your picture with Santa Claus with the agents. We always work it with an agent. We go to the different vendors. We go to the title, escrow, and mortgage. And we're the home inspection company, and we get together with those vendors that are servicing the real estate agents, and we talk to the title and escrow and mortgage, and we say, hey, we'll provide the food, you provide the venue or this or that, whatever they're going to provide. And then we go and approach the agent and say, hey, we're your vendors. We want to show our appreciation for you using us. We want to help you.
Right.
And so I would say buy food. And do food events because when the agents are at their office or wherever we're having the event, maybe it's a title company's office, a conference room, and we're feeding them. They kind of let their hair down and they get to see us. And my wife's in her chef coat and they can see who she is. And we've been married for 32 years. And wow, these guys are normal guys. This home inspection guy, he's not as bad as we thought he was. He's a real human. That he's not just a big bad villain that we always think he is.
Right. No, that's awesome. I saw on Facebook there. I guess had you sponsored maybe a seat? I don't know. It looks like you had somebody teaching a class that you paid for or something. Was it a mortgage guy or something? Maybe I didn't look at that right.
Yeah, we work with a company called Mortgage Masters, and they paid a coach, kind of like. Well, we have Michael Ferry and Brian Buffini and Denise Loans, and it's a CE class, continuing education class for the agents, and we kind of give them that continuing education for free, so they don't have to pay for it. And agents like free things, and then we do the food. And the nice thing about ours is when we advertise, we say it's professionally catered by a professional chef. And that usually gets their attention. And if they haven't gone to one before and they go to it, then they go to it like, wow, she's really good. Not just because she's my wife, but she's really good at what she does.
That's awesome. I'm glad you're not in my market, Michael.
we'd have to put you down. We'd be punching at those ribs that are taped.
That's right. I'd be the old dog. You have to put out in misery. Well, Michael, we're winding down here. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have?
No, but I have a question for you. Is that the
okay? Okay, this is unrehearsed, so we're live bullets here. Go ahead.
See, how do you handle so many inspectors? I mean, how do you all the different personalities? Do they all get along with each other, or do they all get along with you? You know, that would be my question.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Well, I tell you, I got up to 7 inspectors, and that was the max I could handle. I mean, because I was doing it all. I was managing the inspectors, training them, doing the marketing. And, somewhere I read somewhere, I don't even know where it was, but it was so true. It said one person could really only manage 7 people effectively. And I said, because I stayed at 7 forever. And what happened, one of my inspectors stepped forward, and he was a great guy. He actually, before he worked for us, he was a manager of Lowe's Home Improvement. And he had been doing some things like he worked for me like 3 years, and he is a brilliant guy. He was doing like websites and stuff. I mean, like what do you call it? When these guys play football and they get points, I can't even think right now. Fantasy football. He actually had he built these sites and he got income off of it. So he had a certain way. He was trying to get investors and stuff. I mean, he's a sharp guy, but I guess it just didn't pan out. So then he decided to focus, and he said, "I'd like to be the manager," and he came with me and said, "I know you're trying to get to this point, and because I made that public, I'll help you get there, and everything beyond that point, I get a percentage of or something." And I said, "You know what?" He had the right answer. Because most people come to you, "I want more money," but if somebody comes to you and say, "I'll help you get to here," anything beyond that, boom, I get. And I said, "You know what? All right, I got nothing to lose because I can't get beyond where I am right now." And he reminded me of me when I was. So anyway, bottom line is I got a manager who does all the training. Basically, there's 3 people in our company, 3 heads. It's me, him, and my wife. And basically, my job is to make the phone ring. I'm the marketing guy. And I can do inspections in a pinch. But my job is to force him to hire more inspectors. So he hires the inspector. Well, we always interview them together, but he trains them. And he makes sure that he puts the product on the floor. He's the coach. He does, but it's hard to do that and, market. So that's, and that's what our strengths are. I know in some companies it's reversed where they're the person doing the training and they hire a marketing person. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, and then my wife is over the admin part of it.
Right.
Where, and
so when you hire new inspectors now, are you trying to drill deeper in the areas you're already in or go into new territories? Both.
Both. I finally come to the realization that, we can only, at some point, we've grown and grown and grown, but at some point, you're not ever going to get 100% of the market unless you're in some rural area. If you're in a major metropolitan area, the most I've ever heard of anybody getting is 25% of the market. Beyond that, because you can't get everybody, and that's not us, by the way. That was somebody in Indianapolis. But if you're going to grow beyond that, I think we are. We're actually in Asheville now, which is a town west of here, and we want to go a little bit the other way. But as far as getting along and stuff, we're not always going to get along, but it's kind of like, I don't want to say family, but family doesn't always get along either. But I have had a few guys. Nobody has ever said I waited too long to fire that guy. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Nobody's ever said I fired that guy too fast. It's usually the other way. By the time you fired somebody, the rest of you guys are like, "Man, what took you so long?" Every once in a while you will get a cancer, and you and I know there's only one way to get rid of cancer. You got to cut it out. And I've had to do that too. So. I guess that's a long answer. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah.
But
I'm wanting to go into some other areas. It's how do you manage them when they get that far away? I know that Philippe, he's got guys that are like way far away. And, this last week we just bought our van number 6 to put our guys in. And I'm just like, wow, what do you do when you get that far out? When they get spread out away from you? Bring them back in once a month for a meeting or something.
Yeah, well, take advantage of technology. You and I found out, though, that Google Hangouts may not work as good as we thought.
Yeah, we got to fix that.
But maybe we're going to try out Skype or something. But, take advantage of technology. I'm still learning there. I mean, that's new waters for me. So I'm going to talk to Philippe and a couple other guys I know that, have multiple areas. But, yeah, it's new water, new territory for me as well. But anyway, well, Michael, you have been so gracious. For those listeners out there, I don't know when you listen to this, but we actually did this interview on a Sunday. So Michael took time away from his family on a Sunday, and I'm going to let him get back to it. But I know as well as you know that he provided tons of gold nuggets. I'm going to go back and listen to this. I know you guys got some value out of it. So let's go give you some likes on your Facebook page. What's your business Facebook page, Michael? Is it Sterling?
Just Sterling Inspections. Plural.
Sterling Inspections.
Sterling Inspections, yeah.
Go like him on his Facebook because I think that helps with SEO. And is there a way that people could get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more about you or talk to you sometime?
Sure. I'll give you my email and phone number. Email is Michael, Michael, at Sterling, Sterling, Inspections. There's an S on the end. So Michael at SterlingInspections.com. And then my phone is 253-376-6764. Be happy to answer any questions. You never asked me about ancillary services, though. Did I
skip that question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Tell me.
And I'm one of the few home inspectors, at least in my area, that does sewer scoping. And
tell us about
big revenue generator for us. We charge $210 if they do it at the same time as a home inspection. And I was a little nervous like everybody else, but, they go, oh, there's more liability. There's way more liability on a home inspection than there is on a sewer scope. We're only looking at one thing, the pipe, and we're actually taking a video of it. So if they say it was already damaged, well, look at the video. You don't see it's not damaged. It could be damaged later,
right? But
the video is picture-perfect proof that at the time of the scope it was fine or not fine. But, yeah, I mean, it costs, my cameras were $6,000 for a camera and a couple thousand for a locator, but boy, it
sets you apart.
It does.
Even if you don't do it that often, the fact that you can probably gets you more regular inspections because you seem more of an expert. You could do it. Let me ask you this, Michael, because this is my big question. If we went into that, is it messy? I mean, obviously, we're talking.
I think it's messier. To me, it's been messier climbing in some of the nasty crawl spaces because you're like right in it, right crawling over rat poop and cat doo, and
right.
we put on gloves. And we actually double glove. And the reason we double glove is because when the first one gets real messy, you just pull one off and you got another one underneath it. But if you ever pull one off and you only have one on and your hands are a little sweaty, try to get a glove on a sweaty hand is kind of hard.
Yeah, that's true.
We put on double gloves and we put on, just regular clear goggles in case you get splatter. But, I really haven't had, I think I've only had splatter one time in almost 4 years of scoping. And we scope a lot of lines. And, I mean, if you ever delivered a baby or, when you had kids, if you had gone in there and watched or helped put on the gloves, it's messy. Or doctors deal with a lot more mess and put their hands in a lot more places than I would want to do. And I don't think it's that messy. You do have to have your hepatitis shot, but go to a foreign country and you probably should have your hepatitis shot. But I don't think it's that messy because really the doo-doo doesn't stay in the pipe.
Right.
If you go down a pipe and it's brown, it's usually rust because it's a cast iron pipe. But usually doo-doo is biodegradable. It flushes down. What we do is we know we're going to do a sewer scope, so we'll fill the tub or two, and then we'll let it rip. Let the tub go down, and that kind of washes everything down. Because if it's been a vacant house and the realtor went in and did their business and it goes out and sits halfway out the pipe, we want to flush it all the way out. So
sure.
have to see things we don't want to see.
Cool. Well, I'll talk more with you about that because I think we might eventually get into it. But anything you can do to set yourself apart, I'll go through that professional equipment magazine that we get. There's some others And I just look for something like that or something that we can do that will set us apart, and give us a USP that, nobody else has. And that's an excellent one, because I don't know anybody in Charlotte, any home inspectors in Charlotte that do that. So
sure.
I might
well, it does set you apart, because I've actually had agents call me to use me as the sewer scope guy, even though there's going to be another home inspector, and they see us, they see we're uniformed, we're logoed truck, and we come in there almost way more professional than the inspector that's doing the home inspection, and then they find out that we do home inspections, and they go, I might have to give you a try, and then we pick up agents that way.
Awesome. Well, Michael, I know you got to go spend some time with your family, and I got to go take my daughter somewhere. I don't even know, but she told me I had to take her at 1:30. So, all right, Michael. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll get this on tomorrow. And everybody who's listening, please go give Michael some likes on his Facebook page.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.